While many believe there to be a fine line between hard science and what we call magic, the world reminds us time and again that this is not the case. Our universe is filled with the enchanted, with things that cannot always be explained, or things that, once explained, are almost unbelievable. Sometimes the discoveries themselves are unbelievable too. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be taking a look at interesting discoveries. Aramu Muru, the Stargate. Humans have considered the existence of gods throughout all of history. This has led to innumerable myths and legends about their abilities, their stories, and signs of them upon the earth. The presence of inexplicable landmarks and structures around the world lend a small amount of credence to such stories, giving them a sense of reality. One such attraction is Aramu Muru, also referred to as the Gate of the Gods or the Stargate. Aramu Muru is located in Peru and is in close proximity to both Lake Titicaca and the Hayumaca Mountains. It was discovered in 1996 by a tour guide by the name of Luis Delgado Mamani, when he accidentally came upon the area during one of his hikes. The door of Aramu Muru was massive and unmissable. The large door, which had been carved in the side of a mountain, had no inscriptions or markings on it, except for a small hole. There are many stories about Aramu Muru. The mountain range close by is considered the city of the gods by locals, who also carry and spread mystical, otherworldly, and inexplicable tales about the so-called Gate of the Gods. Upon hearing of its discovery, they were quick to believe that an otherworldly presence had steered Mamani, the tour guide, to the Stargate. As for the door itself, legend has it that a priest from many years ago found a golden disc that was shaped exactly to match the hole and was able to open the door and enter. Besides the myths perpetuated by locals, many visitors to Aramu Muru have claimed to have felt a strange and ethereal energy coming from the hole, or the structure itself. It's thought to be a sort of receiver of energies and frequencies from another dimension, a place that ordinary humans cannot understand or reach. And like many other Incan sites, such as Machu Picchu, they believe it emits lights, sounds, and vibrations that connect the religion to another realm. Because the structure is shaped like a door, it's not surprising that many might think that it leads to another time or space. There has not been much research or attainable answers in regard to how Aramu Muru came to be. The area is hard to reach in any scientifically beneficial sense, and the mountain is difficult to excavate, so a lot of what remains to be known comes from stories and myths, passed down from locals to each other and to tourists who visit the site. The oldest mummy yet. The thought of coming to the end of your life can be daunting and frightening. Images of a body fading away and joining the dirt and dust completely can be unpleasant, but perhaps more unpleasant and yet most intriguing is the idea of a body kept frozen in time, preserved and saved for when it is found and unburied again. Egyptologists and researchers uncovered the body of a man called Hekasheps at an excavation site near the capital, Cairo, at the bottom of a 15-meter shaft in a recently uncovered group of 5th and 6th dynasty tombs. It's considered to be the oldest and most complete mummy discovered in the country yet, at 4,300 years old, and was preserved in a limestone sarcophagus sealed in mortar. Hekashep's mummy was not the only one found there. Another tomb was found to contain Khnum-Jerf, an inspector of officials who supervised nobles and a priest during the reign of Yunus. Yet another was that of Mary, described as a servant to the great leader and keeper of secrets. Several statues were also found in the area, and aside from containing the mummified bodies, the tombs also had beautiful and intricate carvings detailing scenes from daily life. The culmination of all these discoveries offered a lot of information about the lifestyles of the people who lived during the 5th dynasty and helped archaeologists to understand more of Egypt's vast and rich history. The mind-blowing 1.2 million-year-old workshop. It has regularly been the case that new discoveries lead to new and deeper understandings of human history. This is certainly true for the latest finding of a workshop and trove of tools dating back to over 1.5 million years ago. Almost 600 handheld axes made from obsidian were found in the workshop in Ethiopia, created by a group of unknown hominins, a family consisting of modern humans and distant human relatives that are now extinct. The unearthing of these objects means that researchers' original timeline of the use of obsidian tools was wrong, and in fact must be pushed back to at least 500,000 years. It also means that the occupants of the area, hominins who are known as the Melka Kuntur, must have been especially skilled and crafty, because working with the obsidian material is extremely difficult. Obsidian is essentially volcanic glass, the remnants after a volcanic eruption and the lava that explodes out of the volcano. It forms when the lava cools rapidly, giving the rock both its typically darker color and its brittleness. Due to its fragility and the sharp edges of the glass, obsidian is simultaneously an extremely useful material to create tools and weapons out of, but also quite difficult to work with and form those tools. It's dangerous to work with because of its sharp edges and can break easily. The scientists who found the trove were led by Margherita Mussi, an archaeologist at the University of Sapienza, who confirmed that what they had discovered was a surge in obsidian exploitation. They explained how the obsidian must have been deposited into Ethiopia Awash River, along which the hominins settled and lived. This was how they must have found the material, exploiting it in new ways and creating tools with sharp edges. This is telling of their intelligence and creativity, backing the scientists' and researchers' assertion that these hominins were far smarter than they are given credit for. Not only did they react to environmental changes, but they also explored their surroundings and found new methods of interacting with and making use of what they discovered. Humans are the only hominins that exist now, and the timeline to where we are today has been based upon much exploration and study of the land and what remains of the past. A variety of our close relatives were found to have used stone to make tools and weapons as early as 3.3 million years ago, and it was assumed that the use of workshops or areas specifically designed to serve as the area to make tools and weapons did not appear until much later in the archaeological timeline. The discovery of the workshop and its trove of tools completely changes the perspective and disproves the assumptions of these scientists and researchers. Astronomers find the brightest intergalactic pulsar. Astronomers have discovered the brightest intergalactic pulsar ever just outside the Milky Way galaxy. The pulsar, known as PSR J05237125, happens to be more than 10 times brighter than any other known pulsar. These pulsars are fast-rotating neutron stars, or dense material cores from supernova explosions, regularly emitting radio pulses in intervals. This said pulsar is relatively close in the grand scheme of things, as it lies in the galaxy called the Large Magellanic Cloud, which is about 160,000 light-years away from Earth. The team, led by Yangming Wang, observed this newly discovered pulsar with multiple telescopes and wavelengths to try to discover its secrets. The discovery was unexpected because while scientists have discovered more than 3,000 radio pulsars in the last 60 years, only about 1% of those are outside the galaxy. In fact, many of the pulsars were discovered with the same radio telescope called Australia's Parkes Observatory. The telescope also happens to be the same one that received the video of the Apollo 11 moonwalk. While the said pulsar was difficult to detect because its beam was wider than most, the astronomers ultimately succeeded in finding it by using polarization data. Polarization is a term that describes how light's electromagnetic waves rotate circularly while the waves move throughout space. Human eyes are not able to see polarized light, so the team used the Australian Telescope National Facility, which essentially gave them a form of polarized sunglasses that made it possible to observe the events. While using the Australian Observatory, one of the undergraduate students on the team noticed a circularly polarized object that changed in brightness over several months. This is a very unusual property for pulsars. While the team attempted to confirm the discovery with the Parkes Observatory and the Gemini Telescope in Chile, they ultimately turned to the Meerkat when they were unable to spot the pulsar with the others. Meerkat is a radio telescope that only recently began operating in South Africa and was able to detect PSR J05237125. the team determined that using both the Meerkat and the Australian Square Kilometre Array Pathfinder telescope together could facilitate more pulsar discoveries. In addition, once the world's largest radio telescope, the Square Kilometre Array, is fully built, it should be useful as well. This pulsar discovery is just the beginning of what could be possible. The core of massive dying galaxies already formed 1.5 billion years after the Big Bang. Galaxies can be considered alive, dead, or quenching. Alive galaxies possess current star formation activity, indicating that stars are still being created. Dead galaxies, on the other hand, possess no star formation activity. Quenching galaxies exist somewhere in the middle, but they do not have very much star formation going on. Researchers determine the life level of galaxies by using the spectrum of brightness. Recently, a team of researchers in the Cosmic Dawn Center at the National Observatory of Japan and the Niels Bohr Institute found a distant faded galaxy that seems to have ended life 1.5 billion years ago, 1 billion years earlier than previous studies and measurements indicated. This massive galaxy houses more than 1 trillion stars and is the most distant of its kind to be discovered. However, the research team found that the core of the galaxy seemed to be fully formed only 1.5 billion years after the Big Bang. Masayuki Tanaka, a co-author of the paper and an associate professor of astronomical science at the Graduate University for Advanced Studies and Japan's National Astronomical Observatory, said, "The previous measurement of this kind was made when the universe was 2.5 billion years old. We pushed the record up to 1.5 billion years and found, to our surprise, that the core was already pretty mature. The goal here is to understand why and how galaxies fade away." Francesco Valentino, a co-author of the paper and an assistant professor at Copenhagen's Cosmic Dawn Center, said, "The suppressed star formation tells you that a galaxy is dying, but that is exactly the kind of galaxy we want to study in detail to understand why quenching occurs." Astronomers postulate that massive galaxies like the one in this study are historically the first to die. Scientists further assert that studying these galaxies will tell us why quenching occurs. Understanding how galaxies form, flourish, quench, and eventually die is crucial to obtaining a fuller picture of how our universe works. Hopefully, as scientists and astrophysicists continue to research these galaxies, we will learn what truly makes them tick. But what are your thoughts on these discoveries? Be sure to let us know in the comment section below and help us grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.